Thank you so much, Claire, and I'm excited to be moderating our last session, but certainly not the least session. Just want to remind folks of that. So we do have a wonderful panel here, and you might see the Zoom up here. We did have our Puerto Rico representative, Miss Liza Millan Perez. She had some last-minute travel logistical issues, but she is still able to join us today and share her information with us. So, because we have about 5 minutes for each of our wonderful speakers to present some of their research in some ways that folks can apply this research. They're going to give sort of like a lightning talk, and then the idea is to have folks self-select which breakout group you would want to join. So while our speakers are presenting their information, kind of keep in mind who you would like to hear more from, who you might want to connect with after. And we do have some great volunteer note takers that will be in each session. So if you do have multiple interests, don't worry, we will be sharing out the notes at the end of this workshop so that you can have all the contact info and all of the things that were discussed in each of the breakout sessions. And so with that, I will introduce our first speaker, Mr. Brad Milliken from the Arnold School of Public Health at the University of South Carolina. You are an adjunct professor, correct? Yes, okay, and his day job is with the Global Support and Development. So Brad's background includes supporting federal and international emergency and disaster management operations in various leadership positions with a variety of agencies, the Coast Guard, the National Guard Bureau, Pacific Disaster Center, White House Operations Center, and Global Support and Development, where he's currently the Maritime Director. In addition to his work at GSD, Milliken is a faculty member and adjunct professor at USC. We have a few other USC folks here, so great turnout. And he is a former search and rescue team leader that spent the majority of his career focusing on operationalizing non-traditional actors for disaster response. And sadly, I do not have 3 fun facts like Kate got for all of her panelists, so if you want to share those. But we will start with Brad.
Thanks so much. So like you said, day job, Global Support and Development. We're a US-based 501c3. We focus on disaster preparedness and disaster response in the Caribbean Basin in Central America. And then I teach at the Arnold School of Public Health a course on crisis leadership. I want to open with a story that probably some have heard before, but it's JFK and the NASA janitor. So 1962, peak of the space race, President Kennedy goes down to Langley, Virginia, and is touring a NASA facility. Comes across a gentleman, as the story goes, he asks, "What do you do?" And the gentleman says he's a sanitation worker, he's a janitor, but what I'm doing is I'm putting a man on the moon. And the point was he had that bigger perspective. And I think if we bring that to emergency and disaster management, I think when I describe emergency management to people who aren't familiar with it, I usually say that it behaves less like a single field and more like a federation of loosely aligned fields with a shared objective. And I think that objective, whether you're academic or practitioner, two questions we're trying to answer. 1, why do bad things happen? 2, what should we do about it? And I think that's our man on the moon. I shared that in leading up to the conference. This group had a couple good conversations about challenging sort of that split between the tribes of academic versus practitioner, state versus federal, response versus preparedness. And that a blended perspective or shared understanding is sort of the key. So I think we talk a lot about wanting to bridge the gap between certain communities in the field. And I think we challenge that by saying it's not about bridging the gap, it's about blending the perspectives, which is a semantic nuance, but these are semantic nuance kind of people. So when we talk about emerging insights, things that we've learned, whether that's research or operational, that life cycle isn't complete until we're taking what we've learned and we're making better decisions with it. It doesn't count until we're improving disaster outcomes. So with that thought of trying to blend different perspectives, something that we've had some success with, the School of Public Health, is using tabletop exercises and fictionalizing some real world scenarios for academic audiences. We found that that's been fertile ground for letting students practice, gain reps in things that are rooted and based in real world challenges. It's also been fantastic for us bringing in folks with operational perspective, yank them out of the trenches and put them in the classroom, and we'll see some tough people get pretty uncomfortable, but it's been great. So the breakout session, we'll save slides for that, but we're going to be talking about, how do we create a sandbox that offers the opportunity to blend those perspectives while allowing students to gain familiarity with realistic and dynamic developments in the field. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brad. And you are under time, actually, so double applause for that. Nice work. And speaking of USC, I did forget to mention Dan Kilpatrick is here. He helped plan this session, so a big shout out for Dan helping make connections. All right, so next up we have Dr. Merrie Koester. See, I practiced and I still said it wrong. She is also from the University of South Carolina Center for Science Education. Dr. Koester is a science literacy and communication specialist at USC. She is a founder and director of Kids Teaching Flood Resilience since 2016, so also a decade of experience, just like SCDRP's annual meeting this year. And then she also centers her work around building a research practice of partnerships that legitimizes and positions science literate youth as community resilience ambassadors. She's also worked quite extensively with NOAA's National Weather Service as a Weather Ready Nation Ambassador Program of Excellence. This program, KTFR, Kids Teaching Flood Resilience, was funded by actually the program I work with, so I have gotten to work with Dr. Koester. Don't spread the word too far. And so she is going to share more on her work with KTFR today. So I will pass the mic over to Merrie. And I will do your slides from up here so you can.
Not yet.
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
It's a secret. Greetings. I'm going to read mine because I have a timekeeper and that makes me nervous. So we are all here at this conference for the same reason, right? We want to keep people from getting hurt, from out of harm's way. We're all here. The culture of care is so powerful. But while you amazing emergency management specialists are engaging in focused, data-driven, scenario-based, tabletop, worst-case situations, way too many of the people you're hoping to protect are inadvertently putting themselves in harm's way. They are ignoring the evacuation orders, et cetera, et cetera. I just had a terrible story from Tiffany. Yeah, you have to talk to Tiffany about people who ignored the evacuation orders. It's the worst kind of story. A hazard becomes a disaster when people die. A hazard becomes a disaster when people die. I learned that from the EJ Strong community. Go EJ Strong community. Oh, formerly known as EJ Strong. So the message I heard loud and clear when I first was invited to take part in the city of Charleston's first sea level rise town hall, expert after expert said, "We're not ready for another Hurricane Hugo. Look at all of this data about all the number of coastal tidal flooding events. We're not ready, we're not ready." And here I was, an educator and a communications specialist sitting out in the audience going, what is causing this persistent and potentially life-threatening breakdown in communication? Our keynote speaker lifted that up the whole time. Is it the message? Is it the sender? Is it the receiver? Or is it all three? Regardless, the outcome is always the same. When people don't know what they don't know, in the literature that's called educational vulnerability, they amplify their hazard risk when they don't know what they don't know. What does the literature say about what's not working? The literature finds that traditional approaches to public education directed at hazard risk mitigation are largely ineffective because they lack the power of story and meaningful engagement. As one who's been teaching youth ages 12 to 20 for my entire career, I know that they want few things more than to be taken seriously by adults like you. What they really want is to be invited to take part in a story of solving a problem with you seeing them as being important. And so at that town hall meeting, the idea of just popped up in my head. I said, what if, so everything we do starts with what if. Like, what if we had a science education program in middle and high school, because they teach climate and weather science, 6th grade and 9th grade, that brought them into this conversation. And what if I could find a team of thought leaders from the community to help me build a program? Guess what? It happened. It literally happened. And so what you're going to find out in my program is the project that started in 2016, I was able to first find out from people like you what needed to be counted as power knowledge. What you needed, what do you have to notice, what do you have to know, and then what do you have to do? And I asked experts in weather. Ron Morales and Emily, please stand up. I know you're in this room. I could not have built the Get Weather Smart part of this program without these two NOAA meteorologists. Is Jared Bramblett, who's a stormwater engineer, y'all have seen them around? Yes! I could not have built the Get Place-Wise domain without Jared Bramblett or without the scholars from the South Carolina Aquarium like Aubrey Anthony, back there, get up. I could not have built the Storm Surge Smart domain without Doug Marcy or the City of Charleston GIS office. And there's Matt. You work with Doug. Yeah. Right? That's exactly right. I could not have done the Prep Ready without, do y'all remember Butch Barfield? Butch Barfield was the Charleston County Emergency Management Director, or with Shannon Scaff, who was our emergency manager, or Daniel Flessis, who taught me just how many bus stop evacuation signs were gone. So there's that. And then so all of my work is in low-income Title I schools. We learned that 80% of these students do not learn how to swim, and it's all traced to Jim Crow. And so we built a Get Water Safe program for teaching water safety and survival. But it wasn't until I got that NOAA DPB grant that I could bring it to scale and field test the curriculum in the schools and develop an actual out-the-door curriculum for you to deploy in your schools, in your programs, in your 4-H programs, in your churches. And in my session today, you're going to get to see what that curriculum looks like. But now, I want you to get to see what youth who have felt empowered by mentors like you can do. Work.
We are flood resilient citizen scientists from Charleston Development Academy.
We're here to teach you how you can become flood resilient too.
Y'all feel free to dance in your seats.
Step up, get ready, respond. Right now, step up, get ready. We'll show you how you gotta know the facts, so you know how to act, what to do, where to watch, where to go.
Yeah. Oh.
Are you living in a flood-prone zone?
Are you?
Are you gonna have to leave your home? Where is a bus stop to take you to the shelter? What you gonna do when we have bad weather? What you gotta know is what you gotta know. What you gotta do with the info. What you gotta know is what you gotta know. What you gotta do with the info.
I really hate it when adults say something like, "You're just a kid, leave this situation to us adults."
But we're official kids teaching flood resilience ambassadors.
No somos solo niños.
Yeah, listen to us kids. We know what to do, no time to wait, and we mean you. To start with, during hurricane season, you need to check the National Hurricane Center, or NHC, at least 3 times a day.
Consulta usted con el Centro Nacional de Huracanes 3 veces al día durante la temporada de huracanes.
Overnight, a Category 1 storm can become a Category 3.
Never, ever stay in a mobile home during a hurricane.
You have to know what to notice, know and do.
Step up, get ready, respond.
Aumentar, prepararse, responder.
You gotta know the facts, so you know how to act, what to do, where to watch, where to go. You gotta know the facts, so you know how to act, what to do, where to watch, where to go.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Merrie. That was a very inspiring video, honestly. All right, and you guys can talk more to Dr. Koester in our breakout sessions and learn more about KTFR. And next, we will go to Dr. Norm Levine, who actually put his bio on the screen, so I won't read it word for word. But he has many, many years of experience, and fun fact, he was my professor when I was in grad school here. So I will pass it off to Dr. Levine.
Hello. I'm used to lecturing in this room, so I don't normally use a microphone. So with the microphone picking up my voice, I will probably blow out your ears, so I will try and talk calmly. I'm also used to talking at 50, 60 minutes at a time. I won't be doing that today, right now. My section that I'm going to be doing in the breakout is I'm going to look at climate disruption and flooding. I'm going to couch it in this region in general, and talk about developing products for community resilience. How do you actually cross the boundary and reach out to the communities and the people in the communities with meaningful products, and how do you put those products together? And so this is an example of one of the types of products that we work on and that we have in the area, and you'll see a little bit more of it during the talk. This is the big overview. It's a building by building hazard index that was developed that looks at 5 separate natural hazards in the Charleston region. We're looking at earthquakes, flooding, hurricane, sea level rise, just to kind of give you a sense of what's going on, and red is bad. Okay, easy enough to do. But how do you leverage the data you already have from the different groups that are holding that data into something that will allow you to do response, recovery, mitigation, as well as education? We'll also talk about how do we set up timelines for policy. How do we choose, where do we put the turning point based on sea level rise and flooding? Well, in the Charleston region, we took a study and we looked at the economics of what was going on and how the tax base would be hit. And we looked at flooding on our streets where we had situations where there was more than a foot of flooding coming in or above. And then we said, how many days are we going to see that over time? And then we put a turning point. Now, it's hard to tell why I put the turning point there. I've got a slide for our group when we're all broken out and talking about data and how to do it that really explains that as well. We don't have to look at surface flooding for a lot of areas, especially coastal areas. We've got a problem with water quality, especially when it comes to septic systems. Okay? Flooding, septic systems, it's bad, bad, bad. Well, how do we set a timeline for areas to understand when do they have to act? And here is a study we did in Beaufort, South Carolina, and it actually looks at setting actionable timelines for when do you have to change the type of systems you have there. Can you have a system? And if not, what can you do about that? And just as an add-on, they've already secured federal funding to actually take some of those septic systems that were already having an issue offline. So we're going to look at tools that are available for all jurisdictions. We're going to look at the national services that are out there that you can leverage for real-time sorts of information. And then we'll look at, and just a show of hands, how many people in here does their group or agency use ArcGIS? Okay? So we're talking to a group that uses it, leverage it. And how do we go about leveraging that for communication? Not only just the mapping and preparedness, but communicating out to the public and what sorts of tools are available for that. And when we look at that, we can then look at how do we then take all of that data together and make it something. And this was being shown on one of the posters earlier. This is Bluffton. This is a study looking at how do we figure out where, when you've already got planned development in place, how do you go about deciding where they can develop in a safe way so that you can protect the property that's going in, but still meet those development goals that you have to meet. And so understanding that you can keep people safe and still meet those goals is an important part. You already have the data to do it, and we'll talk about how do you get that data, how can you put that data together. And so with that, I will leave that just reminding you that there is a bar and restaurant guide that is out there. If you need to get around, it was created by our students, so they actually spend money, as our mayor said earlier this morning.
Thank you so much, Norm. We appreciate that, and we appreciate the app. So if you guys do want to take a picture of this real quick, actually, I'll just leave it up because I don't think you guys have slides, correct? Okay, perfect. So we will move on to our next team of presenters. We have Olivia McInernley. I always want to say that wrong. McInernley. Look at Olivia. Olivia's perfect, yep. And Matthew Browning, a little bit easier of a last name. I'm so sorry, Olivia. But they're from Clemson University's Virtual Reality and Nature Lab and 4Ready LLC. And so Olivia and Matt co-direct the Virtual Reality and Nature Lab, where they develop immersive tools to support public health, safety, and environmental awareness. Their research integrates psychology, technology, environmental science to explore how virtual experiences can drive behavior change. Together, they previously co-developed with the University of Georgia Weather the Storm, a NOAA-funded storm surge virtual reality simulation that has been showcased at several national expos and used by emergency managers to improve coastal preparedness. And it is a very cool virtual reality tool. I have seen it before. And with that, I will pass it to you guys to share more information.
Thank you so much. I wish we also had a wrap. Should I put you on the spot? That whole get ready, respond.
Step up, get ready, respond.
I feel like
Step up, get ready, we'll show you how.
So good.
I mean, it's so fun, y'all.
It's so good. A lot of the work that Matt and I do, we have fancy words like immersive, virtual reality. People are like, what the heck is that? You might be like, what the heck is that? It doesn't really matter. It means that we're able to tell a story. I think the heart of this conference has really been on being storytellers, but a lot of our session is on being a story listener. So a storyteller is only effective when you're having active dialogue and having that exchange of ideas. So a lot of work that Matt and I do is really thinking about who is the audience, who is consuming this media, what information do they need, which seems to be the key to what a lot of you all think about, and trying to figure out how do we package this in a way that is new, exciting, sometimes has a song with it. So we might have some fancy tech, but a lot of our session is actually going to be answering the question when you stand in front of a room and they're like, so what do you do? And you're met with blank stares like you all are giving me because it's the end of the afternoon. Having an answer in mind that helps the audience connect to what you do. So we're going to be doing some scenarios. You're going to be taking on not the emergency manager role, but a new role. There will not be acting. Some people get scared. There could be acting if that was your dream. But it will be working in small groups and us taking on different jurisdictions or groups within your community and figuring out what is the communication strategies that will be most effective. And I will turn it over to Matt to share some of the fancy tech that we do have going on this evening.
Thanks, Olivia. So at this networking event, it's right next to the Pineapple Fountain, which is a highlight if you haven't been there or if you haven't been there in a while. And it's a beautiful art gallery, and we will be providing these free virtual reality experiences for wildfire. Wildfire is something that some of you may not be thinking about on a regular basis, but the rate and the severity of these fires are increasing rapidly. We live in the upstate, and we just had the largest fire in our history in March, and we experienced the smoke, and so this is very serious for us, and we also have that risk here on the coast. So If you are interested in seeing what VR is all about, we have a bunch of undergraduate students and some graduate students who will be helping you experience what's called Fire Ready, which is a NSF-funded project. And we would encourage you all to try on a headset. Even if you've had one before and you thought, this is kind of gimmicky or it made me a little sick, the technology has gotten much better, and we are assured that you all will have a good time and realize why we're so excited about VR as a tool for communication.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Olivia and Matt. Round of applause. And like they said, they will be presenting some VR stuff. So if you don't make it to their session for this breakout group, they will be at the social networking session. So another great reason to come to happy hour tonight. And so our last presenter today, let me make sure I can get all of this set up. Liza, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. If you want to go ahead and start sharing your screen, the audience is ready for you to share your information. And while she's getting that set up, I can share a little bit more info about Liza, who is joining us from Puerto Rico today. We're very lucky to still have her, even though she had some logistical travel issues. But Liza Millan Perez holds a PhD in clinical psychology. Her areas of expertise include public health, preparedness, planning, emergency and disaster coordination, and behavioral health in emergencies. Currently, she serves as a planning manager and DOC manager in the Public Health Preparedness and Response Coordination Division for the Puerto Rico Department of Health, where she is responsible for supporting planning for medical overload incidents, mass mortality, and mass care, among many other things. So Liza, it looks like, oh, I'm sorry, let me stop sharing. That would be helpful. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna share now.
You should be able to share your slides.
Yes. Okay. Can you see?
We can see it. It's not full screen. I don't know if that
All right,
matters. Perfect. All right, and we can hear you loud and clear, so you have 5 minutes. On your mark, get set, go.
All right, thank you very much. I am very happy to be able to collaborate in this activity. I almost didn't make it, but here I am. I just want to provide information related to our efforts, the Puerto Rico Department of Health efforts regarding extreme heat preparedness in Puerto Rico and the challenges that we have been experiencing for a couple of years. So I think it's important that I mentioned that we, in the division that I work, we are mainly conducting research or preparedness activity related to all hazards. And also during emergencies where we are the emergency coordinators for that emergency. The issue with heat or extreme heat, I think, is the lack of maybe understanding of the threat that it represents for Puerto Rico, since we have been continuously experiencing for the last maybe 15 to 10 years consecutively, we have been being impacted by several natural hazards. And we have an issue here regarding to alert fatigue. Like, we have a lot of alert systems and people basically don't pay attention to them, or they choose which one to pay attention to. And regarding to heat, we understood since the beginning that there were some gaps for response or mitigation coordination, but also a lack of understanding the problem, right? The problem of heat is not particularly similar to those in other states, right? For us, it's not necessarily a high number in temperature. It's rather the humidity. There are like 3 factors that converge. And also the fact that we have been experiencing warmer night instead of day. So during the night, it's warmer, so we have a lot of people with chronic conditions in the island. We have a lot of people over 65 years of age and older. It's our main characteristic population. And this represents a major threat, right, to this vulnerable population. So when we started talking to everybody, we realized, or to everybody, I mean our key partners, we realized that the triggers vary according to the agency, and sometimes a trigger is enough for some agency to take action, but that trigger is not enough for the supporting agency to implement action. So we have we needed to have a serious conversation, and what we have been doing since 2023 is facilitating first to understand the problem, understand where were the gaps. We conducted some assessment and risk assessment for the Puerto Rico Department of Health to understand a lot the impact of extreme heat on the healthcare system, our vulnerable populations. So we kind of been developing a new methodology or a multimodal methodology to be able to approach what we want to do related to this kind of threat. So on our session, I will be explaining better exactly what we did and what we found on those interventions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Liza, and thank you for working with us through this Zoom. All right, let me get all set back up here. And so Liza will be able to stay on for anyone interested in attending her breakout session. She will be able to stay on through Zoom, and Claire and I believe Dan are going to be able to help moderate here in person. And so with that, just to keep things simple, I know we kind of covered a bunch of different topics, and everyone has several different areas of expertise, but I tried to organize it a little bit by what folks have had experience in. So these extreme heat tropical storms, you could ignore those. That's just how we tried to organize it. But as we were planning this session, and what we're hoping folks can keep in mind as we move into the breakout rooms, is taking all of this research, all of this work that our panelists have shared, as well as a lot of the work that you all have done in various sectors, and how do we apply that research and new insights to the work that we're doing every day. And that's a theme that I've heard quite a bit throughout all of our sessions today, is applying the knowledge and the data and all of the tools that we all create. How do we get that on the ground, and how do we operationalize that? So feel free, please take a picture of this. I do want to say we're going to let folks self-select. We didn't place anyone in groups or anything, but if you notice that the room is getting full, let's maintain a little respect for the presenters, just so they're not talking to a room of like 60 people all at once. So or 2 people. It could go either way. But so if you do see that a session is full, feel free to bounce around to whichever one sparks your interest. And like I said, we'll have note takers in all of them, and we'll be able to share discussions after the conference this week. All right, so if there are not any questions about